But what if he ain't relaying the messages that you would need relayed?
And I'm out of there. You see where I'm at now? I'm out of there, man. And it would be some games where, like, I get 2 targets, I get 3 targets, still love them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If we do play them, if we do see them, it's showtime.
We have not made a video on this particular topic, since the off season. For a good reason, by the way. There was just no means for us to do it. Tyreek Hill completely disbanded his podcast, or at least paused it, for the duration of the regular season. But that doesn't mean he can't make appearances, and it's in these appearances that he definitely said some interesting things. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow, and make sure you're followed on Twitter and Instagram for our holiday giveaways. Now that we got all of that out of the way, break! This video is sponsored by Audible and Amazon Alexa. Listening to Audible on Alexa is the perfect hands-free companion to when you are cooking, cleaning, or relaxing during this holiday season. For me personally, I mainly listen to Alexa whenever I am meal prepping. And now for the month of December, Alexa customers can listen to James Patterson's Fear the Wolf completely free. Alexa, read Fear the Wolf.
Fear the Wolf by James Patterson. The audiobook is free to stream from Audible.
The gun feels good in Joe Wolf's hand. Nights out alone on the Sea Wolf, the big boat rocking gently in the bay.
The selection of free titles on Alexa in December give Alexa users a chance to discover new favorites and new formats for free, like the exclusive Words Plus Music series or a holiday classic. So if you want to listen to James Patterson's Fear the Wolf for free, all you have to do is say, Alexa, read Fear the Wolf. Now available for free on Alexa from now for the rest of December. And thank you, Alexa, for the sponsorship. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Ever since Tyreek Hill got traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins, he's definitely taken some opportunities to stir some controversy whenever he would run his podcast. Now, in the very beginning, he didn't really say anything that was that bad. From the very beginning, when he was traded from the Kansas City Chiefs, it was clear why he got traded. He even said it himself in his introductory press conference with the Miami Dolphins.
It's tough, man, but somebody comes to you with a lot of money, it changes.
And I think that was the last time Tyreek Hill was really authentic with us as an audience as to the real reason why he left the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't necessarily need to be a genius. The Chiefs and Tyreek Hill were very, very close to a contract extension until Tyreek Hill saw what Davante Adams was getting. And once Davante Adams got traded, this just started a gigantic circus. Kind of already was a circus when Christian Kirk got paid the amount he did to join the Jacksonville Jaguars, but once the Davante Adams trade went through and he got paid a tremendous sum of money, 5 years, $139 million, then Tyreek Hill pretty much looked at that and said, I want the same thing. And rightfully so, man. You're not gonna be at peak athletic condition forever, especially when you're 28 years old and still in your prime. You should try to cash out as much as you can. No one's telling Tyreek Hill not to do it, but the interesting thing is how he handled the situation after. Because in his very first podcast, he would say this.
As far as accuracy wise, I'm going with Tua all day.
So which one would you rather have? The deep ball where you got to scramble around the field to try to go find it? Or do you want that accuracy to hit you right in the bread basket on the run?
I want it to hit me right in the bread basket, just like I did in the Buffalo Bills game, and take it 70. And the rest is history.
And again, this is not a shot at anybody.
Right.
This is just stuff that had to be said.
It needed to be said.
It needed to be said.
Look, even then, kind of head scratching to say, this is your quarterback that won you a Super Bowl. Maybe you're trying to hype up your new quarterback who, don't get me wrong, a lot of people had question marks about Tua coming into this season. There was footage of him underthrowing deep balls to Tyreek Hill that also generated some buzz in the media. I understand trying to hype up your new quarterback. He would say some really weird stuff.
It's nothing weird. At first I thought it was going to be something crazy, the ball going all over the place, but Tua actually has probably one of the prettiest balls I've ever caught in my life. So it's very catchable. I don't want to continue because the more I talk, the more it sounds weird. So Tua is He's a very accurate quarterback. That's all I'm gonna say.
And my own personal favorite, which is by far the most backhanded compliment that I think I've ever seen, was when Tyreek Hill went on Good Morning Football and said, "I just want people to understand that I went for 150 yards with Matt Moore as my QB versus the Minnesota Vikings. I love Matt Moore, but Tua is 10 Matt Moores," which is definitely one of the most bizarre compliments I've ever heard. I think it's really funny because like the top comment, and obviously this isn't the case now because this is Tua's best season, but the top comment to that was Matt Moore's best season as a Dolphin versus Tua's best. Matt Moore's is technically, I guess you could say, a little bit better. I mean, he has one less interception and like 150 yards less passing yards. And obviously Patrick Mahomes had his own response to what Tyreek Hill was saying. He was pretty much saying what we were all thinking.
I haven't talked to him since the podcast that came out, but I mean, I talked to him in Formula One in Miami in May, and everything seemed fine. So he's trying to show that he loves where he's at in Miami. He loves his teammates. I'm sure it had something to do with trying to get his podcast some stuff and get it rolling.
So at this point, you might be thinking, Mike, why are you bringing this up again? Well, Tyreek Hill stopped doing his podcast during the season because he didn't want to be a distraction, which was kind of bittersweet for me because the bitter part is a little less content for me to bring to you guys. But the sweet part is he's not going to be a gigantic distraction to the Miami Dolphins. And ultimately it worked out. He's having a career season for his brand new team, which doesn't happen a lot for wide receivers. We've seen so many wide receivers go to new teams and completely fizzle out. And not to say that Tyreek Hill is even on the same tier as Kenny Golladay, but there's a pretty good chance that this trade could have not worked out. Now, the interesting thing is, once again, he had to bring up Kansas City. And he said two things that really caught my eye. The first thing I thought was just a blatant lie to everyone once again.
A guy, like, I love playing ball and I love, being by the team because football is a team sport, right?
Correct.
And it would be some games where, like, I get 2 targets, I get 3 targets, and we'll go into meetings and my coach would be like, "Hey, we got to get you involved. We got to get you involved." And I'm like, calling my agent every week after they say some crazy stuff like that, like, "Bro, I got to get out of here."
So Tyreek Hill said that there were games where he'd get 2 to 3 targets, didn't feel valuable, and as a result, he demanded a trade. That didn't happen at all whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, there were those games where he had 2 to 3 targets, primarily at the end of the season versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had 2 targets in week 15, and then he had 3 targets versus the Denver Broncos in week 17. Those were the only 2 instances of him having 2 and 3 targets. There's another instance versus the Las Vegas Raiders in week 13 where he had 4 targets, but he also had 76 passing yards that game. And then maybe in week 2 versus the Baltimore Ravens, he had another 4 target game, which wasn't necessarily his best. That was coming after a 15 target game where he went for almost 200 receiving yards. As a matter of fact, if you look at Tyreek Hill's career statistics, last year he was targeted 159 times, which was the most in his entire career. Don't get me wrong, he's on track to beat that mark this year. He currently has 139 at the time that I'm recording this video, but to say that he wasn't being targeted enough is absolutely ludicrous. But that's not the only thing he said. On top of that, he called out his old team and said he wants to face them in the playoffs.
I still love them, you know what I'm saying? But just know when if we do play them, if we do see them, it's showtime. They better have 2 people on me. That's all I know. The cheetah will be arriving in Kansas City or in Miami. I don't care where I be at.
And my favorite part of this is he took the time to contradict himself once again by saying this.
I don't even need to be the highest paid receiver. I just want to be taken care of, and I want to stay, with Kelsey. I want to stay with Pat. I want to stay with my brother. Just take care of your boy, man. Just make me 25 M's, you know what I'm saying? Right. Match me with A.J. Brown, and I'm cool with that. It's like, okay. They got it to 25 M's, but the guaranteed money wasn't looking right. So
right.
Me and Drew going back and forth with that. I'm like, "Drew, it's fine." Drew's like, "No, we can get more." You know how agents are.
Right, of course.
Saying the same thing, "Bro, we got to get you back. We got to get you back." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I want to come back, bro. Like, let's make something happen."
But make the money right.
Like, just make the guaranteed money sound
right.
At least right,
yeah.
Bro. Like, Miami had called. It was like, "Look, we just gonna go all out. We gonna give you $72 million guaranteed." And then I was like, "Bro, I can't turn that down. Income tax, I'm basically living in my house for free right now." So I'm like, yeah, we can't turn that down.
Right.
We actually told Kansas City what Miami offered. Kansas City was like, "Nah, we just gonna trade them." But then I was like, okay, bet. Like that really goes to show how valuable I am to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Opposing to how valuable I could be to Miami. So
Correct.
I was like, just sign the deal. Let's get it done.
Now, here's the thing that makes this the biggest lie of all. Tyreek Hill got traded an entire month before A.J. Brown got traded and received his contract extension. Tyreek Hill was traded on March 23rd, 2022, and was given a 4-year, $120 million contract extension with a $72 million guarantee. And then A.J. Brown was traded on April 28th, 2022, and then was signed to a 4-year, $100 million contract with the Eagles that included $57 million guaranteed. So again, it's more of Tyreek Hill lying and trying to make Kansas City look like the bad guy when all Kansas City did was took this man whose stock was at an all-time low when they found him, found a niche and a role for him, help him become one of the most dominant wide receivers in the game, and then put him in a situation where he could be the highest paid wide receiver in football. And the problem is, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with a player who's won a Super Bowl with his old team, who's getting a significantly better offer from a different team, trying to maximize his earning potential in a state with no state income tax before his best years are behind him. And even once his best years are behind him, I think Tyreek will do fine in new media and in broadcasting as well. But complaining about the lack of targets in a year where you had your career high in targets, and then clearly lying about the A.J. Brown comparison because the month prior, the Titans were reported not to be trading A.J. Brown, and the A.J. Brown trade came without Mike Vrabel's approval and eventually got John Robinson fired. So clearly that wasn't something that people were expecting either. I just don't understand what Tyreek's end goal here is. Starting a rivalry with Kansas City would definitely be entertaining, and it's something that I hope happens because I would love to watch the Miami Dolphins versus the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. That would just make for great TV and great football, but I don't understand why he needs to lie about this situation. At the end of the day, you have a family to feed. I mean, you want more millions. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, if I was in that situation, I probably would have done the same thing. I probably would have been more transparent about it. Same energy as he had in the intro conference. Just say, hey, I loved Kansas City. I wanted to stay there. This is what was best for me and my family. I'm excited to start new in Miami, and I'm happy it's worked out for both sides because at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is still putting up remarkable numbers, and so is Tyreek Hill. The Kansas City Chiefs don't need to pay Tyreek nearly as much. They were able to use that additional draft capital towards other areas of their team, and it was win-win for both sides. But I want to get what your opinion is in the comment section down below. How do you feel about the Tyreek Hill lies? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.